Good morning and welcome to our Staten Island service that's being held here at our New Jersey home. We're so happy you're here with us today. The title of my message today is Choices. The word choice means an act of selecting or making a decision faced with two or more possibilities. You know, choices are a part of life. Choices start when you're a baby and choices go all the way until when you die. It's something that's part of our life. And some choices are no big deal. Some choices just happen to be what many people might consider a little choice. And other choices can be very life-changing. We have choices like what friends we want to hang around with, who do we want to have dinner with, what school do we want to send our kids to, who do we want to get married to, where do we live. We have a choice. Are we going to drink? Are we going to smoke? Are we going to do drugs? Are we going to curse? We have choices in all of that. Sometimes the choices go up. Should I change jobs? Or I got this job offer. Should I take it? It might make me move. Should I move? I got my paycheck today. How am I going to spend my paycheck? And some of these may not seem like such big questions. But sometimes what is little to us is big to other people. You might have got your paycheck today, and some people have a choice. Am I going to pay the bills, or am I going to feed my family? Some people have a choice when they get paid. Am I going to go drink with it, or am I going to pay the rent? Choices are in everyday life. And right now, there are so many choices by so many people. With this virus that's throughout the United States and the world, it's making people have different choices that we never thought we'd have to have. Some people are having to open up their businesses even though the government told them to shut down because their life and their way of living is at stake. The virus is really causing us to make different choices. And sometimes even our health is a choice. What doctors do we go to? Should we take the medication that the doctors asked us to take? But sometimes before we make choices, or I should say all the time, we need to go to God. A choice can be, is today am I going to be joyful? Today am I going to be depressed? Today am I going to be fearful? They're all a choice. Everything in life is a choice, it seems like. And our decisions don't only affect us. Our choices affect others. And we oftentimes forget about that. I was reading an article the other day out of one of my magazines I get. It was about a girl who grew up in Paterson, New Jersey. She grew up in the ghetto or the projects. She was from a very poor family, and she lived the life of someone in the projects. But she said, I do not want to live in the projects forever. I want to get out of the projects. That's the way my family was, but I do not want to do that. She enabled herself to get a grant to go to a private Christian school. The people at school did not all know that she lived in the projects, and people who saw her thought she was very privileged because she was going to a private school. So you can't always tell what people's lives are like. But she continued through, she graduated from the private school, and she is the first one to graduate and go on to college. And she made a choice that her life was not going to be in the projects any longer. And with God's help, she was able to go on. In the Bible, there are a lot of stories in there, a lot of choices. And the one I picked out today is out of Genesis 37 with the story of Joseph and his coats and his brothers. And starting in verse 3, it says, Now Israel loved Joseph more than all of his children because he was the son of his old age. Joseph made that decision. First of all, he had a child in his old age, but second of all, he had a choice that he loved Joseph more than others. And then it goes on to say that he gave Joseph a coat of many colors. Well, that was a choice. It says in verse 4, But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and could not speak peaceably to him. The hate from the brothers was a choice. And living in peace with their brother or not living in peace was a choice. This story has so many choices. And then Joseph had a dream, and he told his brothers, and they hated him even more. Joseph had the choice of telling his brothers about that dream or not telling them about the dream. The whole story is about choices. And then Joseph goes on to tell them, he dreamed another dream and told it to his brothers and said, look, I have dreamed another dream, and this time the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars have bowed down to me. The brothers did not like this dream. And had he not shared it, the brothers wouldn't have even known. But it was a choice he made. It goes on later to say that his father asked Joseph to go check on his brothers. And he did. And when you go into verse 15, he goes to where his brothers should be, and he said to a man, and so he said, I am seeking my brothers. Please tell me where they are feeding the flocks. And the man said, they have departed from here, for I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them. You know, Joseph had a choice. When the man told him his brothers weren't there, he could have gone back and even told his father that they weren't around. But he chose to go after his brothers. And when he made that choice, it made a different outcome. It goes on to say, then he said to one another, look, the dreamer is coming. Come therefore, let us now kill him and cast him into some pit, and we shall say, some wild beast has devoured him. We shall see what will become of his dreams. Now the brothers are making choices. They are making choices about killing him. They are making choices about lying. They are making choices about their future. And what they don't realize is Joseph is being watched over by God. So they are making choices, but God has the final say. And you know, it goes on that he was sold to traders, and eventually Joseph got into the palace. But this entire time, God was watching over him. And the entire time, the choices were going, yes, no, maybe. But God never left Joseph, no matter what the choices of his were or the others were. And you know, God had a plan for Joseph. Even though choices of others and Joseph's choices may not have been exactly God's choices, the plan never changed for where God wanted Joseph to end up. And it's no different for you. We've all made wrong choices. But where has God brought us, and where is God taking us? If we go into Exodus 22, God gave us 10 commandments. This is just the start of some of the commandments he's asked us to do. And we have a choice. Are we going to follow the commandments, or are we not going to follow the commandments? One says, I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other gods before me. It goes on to say, you shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Honor your father and mother. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness. In other words, you shouldn't lie. You shall not covet your neighbor's house or your neighbor's things. These are just 10 commandments the Lord has given to us. And we have a choice. Are we going to follow them? Or are we not going to follow them? And you know, if we don't do what God asks us to do, there can be consequences. So we need to take that in consideration when we are making our choices. You know, we go back and we look at Pharaoh in Exodus 7. He was given many chances by God to change his ways. His heart was hardened, but he would not listen to God. There were 10 plagues that came against him. They had the blood in the water, the frogs in the territory, the lice, the swarms of flies, the livestock that would die, the boils on the Egyptians, the hail on the animals and the people, the locusts. And then the firstborn males of each Egyptian household was going to be put to death. His choice, Pharaoh's choice, even killed his own son. I can't even imagine living with a choice like that. But we have to remember that our choices can make a difference, and they can be good or bad. And it depends who you want to please. Are we wanting to please ourselves, or do we want to please God? It says in Proverbs 1:3-1-2, my sons and daughters, do not forget my law, but let your heart keep my commands. For length of days and long life and peace they will add to you. So God is telling us we have a choice. We can go by his rules and his commandments and have long life and peace. But if we choose not to, then we may not be living in harmony. And it says in Deuteronomy 4:40, you shall therefore keep his statutes and his commandments, which I command you today, that it may go well with you and with your children after you, and that you may prolong your days in the land which the Lord your God is giving you for all time. I want a long life. I want a great life for my children and my grandchildren. God has promised that, but it's up to us to make the correct choices. We need to trust the Lord. In Proverbs 3 it says, trust and rely confidently on the Lord with all your heart, and do not rely on your own understanding. So many times we need to ask the Lord what the correct choice, what are we supposed to really do? And when we hear what we're supposed to do, we need to make the choice to be obedient. In James 1:22 it says, but be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourself. It's time that we make a choice to follow God and follow what he wants us to do. It's a choice that we have. And if you don't know Jesus Christ today, it's a choice you have. You can accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior. Ask him into your heart. Believe in him, and he will give you a good life in the future. And you just need to follow him. I choose today to follow God. I choose that he be my Lord and Savior, and I choose that my family be part of his family. We need to obey, we need to pray, we need to believe and know that God gives us the opportunity to make choices, but we also have the opportunity to follow God and make the choices he has asked us to make. Have a blessed day, and it's a great day to make good choices.